In 2023, a massive global law firm realized that their absolute newest, most junior hire could draft a structurally flawless, highly nuanced appellate brief in exactly 14 seconds.
Right.
And this hire didn't go to law school. They didn't sleep. They didn't require health insurance. And their labor cost a fraction of a cent per word.
Which, I mean, that single 14-second output fundamentally broke the career trajectory
Yeah.
of every human paralegal and junior associate sitting in that building.
Welcome to this custom deep dive put together by the team at the bite-sized Tech News TLDR.
Glad to be here.
We are skipping the, theoretical sci-fi debates today. We're cutting straight to the bottom line.
Exactly.
We're deciphering the absolute real-world implications of generative AI on your immediate job security and your daily productivity.
Because that's what actually matters right now.
Right. So we are looking at a stack of sources today. We've got Rex Woodbury's Digital Native Research, Stanford Payroll Data, Goldman Sachs Economic Report.
Heavy hitters.
Yeah. Exactly. And we're using them to understand exactly why professionals are panicking and, more importantly, how you can pivot to survive.
Because the reality is, if you are sitting at your desk looking at this tidal wave of automation, the traditional ways of evaluating your career health, like the annual review or the company earnings report, those metrics are completely useless right now.
Totally obsolete.
Yeah. We are bypassing the hype cycle to focus on the mechanics of what is actually happening to the knowledge worker economy.
Right.
And, what you need to do to ensure you aren't replaced by a very efficient line of code.
Okay, so let's unpack this.
Yeah.
If you want to get a feel for the current cultural zeitgeist around this technology, you don't really need to read a complex sociological study.
No, definitely not.
You just need to look at the comment section on any TikTok video featuring AI-generated content.
Oh, it is brutal in there.
It's insane. The sheer visceral hostility is staggering. People aren't just skeptical, they are furious.
Yeah, pure anger.
It feels like we are living out the plot of Frankenstein, or like the Cylons in Battlestar Galactica.
Right, the classic sci-fi tropes.
We've built something to serve us, and now we are terrified it's going to exterminate our livelihoods.
It's a very real fear. But if we look at the history of technology, the anger itself is entirely predictable.
You think so?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Every major technological leap has been met with fierce, often apocalyptic resistance.
Sure, but isn't this time fundamentally different?
How do you mean?
Well, fearing a new machine is one thing, but fearing something that thinks, or at least mimics thought, that feels totally unprecedented.
I get why it feels that way, but it's not unprecedented to the people living through those historical shifts.
Really?
Yeah, go all the way back to ancient Greece. In Plato's Phaedrus, Socrates fiercely argued that the invention of the written word would destroy human memory.
Wait, Socrates hated writing.
Hated it. He
Whoa.
didn't just think it was a bad tool. He believed relying on external symbols would literally introduce forgetfulness into the human soul. He thought it would destroy our capacity for internal wisdom entirely.
Which is deeply ironic, considering the only reason we know Socrates said that is because Plato wrote it down.
Exactly.
But I mean, Socrates was fearing a loss of cognitive ability, not that the scroll was going to get up and write its own philosophy.
True, but the perceived threat to humanity's core essence remains a constant.
Okay, fair point.
When the printing press arrived in the 1500s, scholars warned that the resulting information overload would be physically harmful to the mind.
Physically harmful. That's wild.
Yeah. And then in 1924, the New York Times ran a headline reading, "Nation Roused Against Motor Killings."
Because people were terrified of automobiles.
Exactly. When the phonograph was invented, critics claimed recorded music would strip the soul from human performance.
They thought it would destroy our appreciation for true art.
Yes. They thought the machine was ruining the human element.
Okay, I see the pattern, but I have to hold my ground here for a second.
Go for it.
Fearing a car accident is a fear for your physical safety. Feeling that a phonograph might ruin live music is an aesthetic fear.
Right.
But the fear of AI feels completely existential in a way a car or a record player doesn't. A tractor replaces muscle. AI replaces the mind.
And that is exactly why the panic feels so acute this time around.
Yeah.
You're touching on the structural difference of this specific technological wave.
Right.
To understand the visceral hate, we have to look at how AI interacts with human ego.
The ego, yeah.
Previous waves of automation, like the steam engine or the assembly line, they automated the bottom of the pyramid.
They replaced grueling physical labor.
Right. But AI bypasses the physical world entirely and attacks the absolute top of Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
Okay, let's remind everyone Maslow's pyramid.
Yeah, so you have your physiological needs at the bottom.
Like food, shelter, safety.
Exactly. But at the very top, you have self-actualization.
Creativity, identity, problem solving, prestige.
Precisely. High-level knowledge workers and creatives have spent their entire lives building their identities around their intellect and their taste.
It's who they are.
Yeah. So if you are a graphic designer who spent a decade mastering lighting and composition,
Right.
and then a diffusion model like Midjourney can produce something indistinguishable in 4 seconds.
Yet you can.
That isn't just a threat to your paycheck. It is a profound, violent attack on your sense of self.
Man, that's heavy. But we are seeing that identity crisis play out in real time.
Oh, absolutely.
Look at the massive SAG-AFTRA strikes in Hollywood recently.
Huge cultural moment.
Or the uproar when the filmmakers of The Brutalist admitted they used AI to enhance Adrian Brody's Hungarian accent.
People were outraged.
The creative class shapes culture, and right now they perceive AI as a virus.
And honestly, it's terrible PR timing for Silicon Valley.
How so?
Well, 10 years ago, tech was cool. But post-Cambridge Analytica, post-crypto crash, AI is debuting to a public that fundamentally distrusts the people gaining it.
That makes total sense. We also can't ignore the origin of our sci-fi doom tropes, which were born from this exact anxiety.
Right, the word robot.
Yeah. The 1920 Czech play RUR actually invented the word.
Which is fascinating.
It comes from the word robota, which literally translates to forced labor or serfdom.
And how does that play end?
The artificial workers gain consciousness, realize they are superior, and wipe out humanity.
Exactly. That cultural seed was planted over a century ago.
So the dread is baked into our culture. But if we pivot from the cultural feeling to the hard economic data,
Which is what we're here for.
the existential dread is entirely justified.
Yeah.
The sources highlight a recent survey conducted by economists at Stanford University, and they're analyzing massive amounts of ADP payroll data.
So this isn't a survey of how people feel.
No, this is a look at who is actually getting paid.
Right.
And the reality is stark. Young workers aged 22 to 25 who are in highly AI-exposed jobs.
Like software development, data entry, customer service.
Exactly. They have experienced a 13% decline in employment since the launch of ChatGPT.
That 13% figure is critical to dissect
Yeah, let's break that down.
because it reveals the actual mechanism of how AI displacement works in the modern corporate environment.
Right, because my immediate question when I read that is, are companies actually firing 22-year-olds en masse?
That's what people assume.
Are managers walking through the bullpen handing out pink slips because they bought an OpenAI enterprise license?
No, and that's why this is so insidious. It's not a mass layoff event.
Okay, then what is it?
It is a fundamental shift in forward-looking capacity planning.
Capacity planning.
Yeah. Imagine a mid-sized tech company that historically needed to hire 20 new customer service representatives every year just to keep up with churn and growth.
Okay, 20 new reps a year.
Today, they implement an AI triage agent.
And this isn't just a basic chatbot, right?
No, this isn't a chatbot that gives you a link to an FAQ. It's an agent connected via API to their database that can autonomously process a refund, track a package, or reset a password.
It actually does the work.
Exactly. And that agent instantly resolves 80% of level 1 support tickets.
So the company doesn't need to fire anyone, they just stop hiring.
Exactly. Instead of hiring 20 new grads, they only need to hire 3.
Just to handle the complex edge cases the AI can't process.
Yes. The existing older cohorts of workers, the ones who already have domain expertise and institutional knowledge, they look perfectly stable in the payroll data.
Because they're doing the higher level work.
Right. But the entry-level pipeline, the bottom rung of the ladder where young professionals traditionally learn the ropes,
That's just being choked off entirely.
it's vanishing.
That is a terrifying silent freeze.
Yeah.
And this isn't just isolated to tech support.
Not at all.
The Goldman Sachs report, we're looking at estimates that a staggering 300 million full-time jobs globally are exposed to generative AI automation.
300 million.
But the breakdown of who is exposed completely flips the historical script.
Right. It's not the factory workers this time.
Exactly. Plumbers, electricians, home health aides, their jobs remain almost entirely untouched.
Safe as can be.
But administrative office work and the legal field are leading the pack with an estimated 40% exposure to AI automation.
It's the total inversion of the blue-collar versus white-collar automation narrative.
It really is.
And to truly understand why the knowledge worker is suddenly so vulnerable and how the technology became so proficient at human tasks so quickly,
Yeah.
we have to look at the evolution of the CAPI-TCHA.
Oh, the CAPI-TCHA, the completely automated public Turing test to tell computers and humans apart.
Yes, those incredibly annoying little grids of photos.
Where you have to click every square that contains a crosswalk or a bicycle.
Exactly those.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though. How does me clicking on a blurry traffic light connect to a paralegal losing their job?
This traces back to a researcher at Carnegie Mellon named Louis van Aan. He founded CAPI-TCHA, which Google eventually bought.
Okay.
Originally, CAPI-TCHAs asked you to type out distorted, hard-to-read words.
Right, the squiggly text.
Yeah. What most of the public didn't realize is that those squiggly words weren't randomly generated.
What were they?
They were scans from 100 years of the New York Times archives.
Wait, really?
Yes. The optical character recognition software of the early 2000s couldn't decipher faded ink or weird fonts.
Ah.
So by typing those words to prove we were human, millions of internet users were providing free, supervised learning data to digitize the archives.
Oh, wow. We were doing the reading comprehension that the machines couldn't do?
We were the unpaid labor force training the algorithm.
That is wild.
Exactly. Then, as the text models improved, the CAPI-TCHA evolved.
Into the image grids.
Suddenly, you were asked to identify traffic lights, crosswalks, and bicycles.
Let me guess there was a hidden mechanical purpose there, too.
Oh, absolutely. By clicking those boxes, we were actively labeling massive image data sets.
For what?
We were training the weights and biases of Google's neural networks to recognize the physical world.
For self-driving cars.
Exactly. It was absolutely critical for training autonomous vehicles.
So we taught the machine to read, and then we taught the machine to see.
And we did it billions of times over 2 decades.
Unbelievable.
The result is that today, these underlying models have been trained so exceptionally well on human cognition that they consistently outperform human baselines.
In tasks like reading comprehension, pattern recognition, data synthesis.
Yes, we literally spent the last 20 years training the system to render our own basic digital capabilities obsolete.
That is both a brilliant engineering hack and a deeply unsettling reality.
It really is.
So if you're listening to this and you work in one of these highly exposed fields, say you're an administrative assistant or a junior lawyer,
Right.
that 40% exposure rate sounds like a death sentence.
It does. But you don't survive a tidal wave by standing still.
Exactly. The difference between being replaced by AI and being promoted because of it comes entirely down to mastering what the sources call the co-pilot paradigm.
That's right. The crucial nuance here is that while AI can execute specific tasks instantly, most knowledge jobs are not just a single task.
Right. They're not just one button press.
No, they are a complex web of interconnected responsibilities, client relationships, and strategic judgment.
So how do tools fit into that?
What we are seeing right now is the rise of vertical AI solutions.
Vertical AI.
Yeah. Instead of a general chatbot like ChatGPT, companies are building hyper-specialized tools tailored for specific workflows.
Right. The sources mention tools like Harvey and Crosby for the legal field,
Yeah.
and Zembly for administrative work.
Exactly.
But how does a professional actually integrate these without just automating themselves out of a job?
That's the million-dollar question.
Because if I'm a paralegal at a traditional law firm, I can't just dump a client's highly sensitive corporate merger documents into a public AI and call it a day.
No, and doing so would instantly get you fired for violating data privacy laws.
Obviously.
The secret to successfully adopting the co-pilot paradigm relies on a well-documented psychological concept.
Okay, let's hear it.
It's known as the foot-in-the-door technique.
Okay, let's look at the mechanics of that.
The concept originates from a famous 1966 study by researchers Friedman and Fraser.
1966, okay.
They went into a neighborhood and asked homeowners to place a small 3-inch drive carefully sign in their window.
Just a tiny sign.
Yeah, it was a tiny request, and almost everyone agreed.
Sure, why not?
2 weeks later, they returned and asked those same people to let them install a massive, ugly billboard reading drive carefully on their front lawn.
Oh, wow. Did they say yes?
The people who had agreed to the small sign were significantly more likely to agree to the massive billboard than a control group.
Interesting. Why?
By getting them to agree to a small commitment, they fundamentally changed the homeowner's self-perception.
They viewed themselves as safe driving advocates.
Exactly. To view themselves as people who support safe driving initiatives.
So if we apply the foot-in-the-door technique to a corporate environment,
Right.
the Drive Carefully sign is a low-stakes automation task.
Exactly. If you want to integrate AI into your workflow, you do not try to overhaul the firm's entire litigation strategy on day one.
That would be the billboard.
That's the billboard. You
Yeah.
start incredibly small.
Okay, give me an example.
You use an enterprise-secured vertical AI tool like Harvey to automate the most draining, repetitive, low-stakes task on your plate.
Like what?
For example, the initial high-level review of standard non-disclosure agreements.
Okay, just standard NDAs.
Right. You let the AI flag the standard clauses.
Yeah.
You review its work manually to ensure complete accuracy.
You build trust with the tool.
Exactly.
It's like managing a highly capable but incredibly literal-minded intern.
That is the perfect analogy.
And we have to remember how these large language models actually function under the hood.
Right, the architecture.
They are stateless. Every time you open a new chat window, it's like the intern has total amnesia.
Yep, blank slate.
They don't know who you are, they don't know your firm's tone of voice, and they don't know the context of the case unless you explicitly provide it.
Right, within their context window, the limited amount of text they can process at one time.
So you have to constantly feed them the parameters.
That's a vital mechanical point.
Yeah.
You have to brief the AI just like you would brief an intern.
Give them the files, set the tone.
You give them the background files, you set the parameters, and then you ask them to summarize the meeting notes or draft the initial email templates.
And then you check it.
Always verify their output. Once you prove to yourself and your partners that you are working faster and more accurately on the rote work, you've established trust.
The sign is in the window.
Exactly. Only then do you scale up to the billboard.
Using the AI to help draft complex discovery documents.
Or identify contradictions in thousands of pages of opposing counsel's depositions.
Okay, so that's the legal side. And for administrative professionals, this transition requires an entirely new professional identity.
It really does.
If you view yourself strictly as a task executor, the person whose value is tied to scheduling meetings, booking flights, and formatting spreadsheets.
You are in immense danger.
Right. Because of tools like Engsley, which is mentioned in the sources.
Engsley is effectively an automated executive assistant.
What can it actually do?
It can listen to a Zoom meeting, accurately summarize the action items, identify that 4 different executives need a follow-up meeting,
Wow.
and autonomously cross-reference their calendars to schedule it.
That's insane. The sources provide a great example of this efficiency.
Yeah, the real estate prompt.
Right. You can now prompt a specialized AI agent with something like, find me 10 options for office spaces in Lower Manhattan under 15 grand a month that are available by October.
And what happens?
It will scrape the internet, cross-reference listings, and drop a formatted spreadsheet into your inbox in 30 seconds.
And that task used to take an administrative assistant an entire afternoon.
So the existential question is, what do you do with that freed up afternoon?
Because if you just go home early, they will eventually stop paying you.
Exactly.
You must use that time to transition your role from task executor to a strategic chief of staff.
Chief of staff. I like that framing.
If the AI is handling the rote scheduling and baseline data gathering, you step up to handle the complex, human-centric challenges.
Like what?
You manage cross-departmental relationships. You anticipate the executive's strategic blind spots.
Things that AI can't see.
Exactly. You focus on driving company culture and conflict resolution, things an AI fundamentally cannot do because they require emotional intelligence and physical presence.
You elevate your output from the operational layer to the strategic layer.
That's the only way to survive.
It's fascinating because the companies building these successful vertical AI tools deeply understand this workflow dynamic.
Oh, they know exactly what they're doing.
Look at Crosby, the legal AI tool reinventing contract law. The sources note that Crosby actually forces their domain experts, the practicing lawyers, to sit directly between their software engineers in the office.
They physically interlock the seating arrangement.
Right. And why do they do that?
Because technical architecture is useless if it doesn't solve a human problem.
Completely useless.
A software engineer might build a brilliantly efficient machine learning model, but they don't understand the nuanced, stressful reality of how a lawyer actually interacts with a client contract under a tight deadline.
They don't know the pressure.
No. By forcing the domain experts and the engineers to collaborate constantly, Crosby ensures their tool fits seamlessly into the real-world workflow.
Rather than just being a flashy Silicon Valley tech demo.
Exactly.
That forced marriage of domain expertise and technical capability is exactly why a company like Harvey hit $100 million in annual recurring revenue at breakneck speed.
100 million ARR is staggering.
It is. Harvey didn't just sell an algorithm, they sold peace of mind.
They leaned into the professional FOMO.
The fear of missing out. Their pitch to massive law firms was essentially, we've got you covered. If you use our enterprise platform, your firm won't fall behind the competition.
They successfully productized the very AI anxiety we've been discussing.
It's brilliant, but mastering this co-pilot paradigm, treating the AI like an eager amnesiac intern, is really just phase one.
Just the beginning.
Because the technology is not standing still. We are currently watching the ecosystem shift from passive assistance to active execution.
And this introduces an entirely new wave of complexity that professionals absolutely have to understand.
Let's define the mechanics of that shift. We are moving from traditional digital software to what the industry calls the age of the agent.
The agent era.
Yeah. Traditional software digitized analog processes. Instead of balancing a physical ledger book with a pen and a calculator, you typed the numbers into Microsoft Excel.
Right, but you still had to know the formulas.
Yeah, actually. You still had to manually enter the data. The human was the engine. The software was just a digital piece of paper.
But in the age of the agent, the software is no longer just a passive tool waiting for your input.
It does the work.
An AI agent has the ability to autonomously execute workflows on your behalf.
Without you clicking anything.
Yes. It can perceive its environment, make decisions based on a set of parameters, and actually take action by interacting with other software through APIs.
Application programming interfaces.
Right.
Okay, but if I'm being honest, the idea of an AI agent autonomously executing workflows sounds great in a pitch deck.
Yeah.
But right now, a lot of these tools feel way too complicated for the average person to actually use.
They really do.
I look at some of these new AI interfaces and I feel completely paralyzed.
It's overwhelming.
It feels like you need a background in prompt engineering and data science just to get the thing to summarize a PDF without hallucinating.
Your paralysis is a known psychological phenomenon called the paradox of choice.
Paradox of choice.
When human beings are presented with too many options or too much complexity, it doesn't empower us.
It just stresses us out.
It actually leads to anxiety, decision fatigue, and ultimate dissatisfaction.
This is the famous JAM study.
Yes, the 2000 study by psychologists Sheena Iyengar and Mark Lepper.
Break it down for us.
They set up a tasting booth in an upscale supermarket. On one day, they offered 24 different varieties of gourmet jam.
That's a lot of jam.
On another day, they offered only 6 varieties.
Okay.
The booth with 24 jams attracted more foot traffic. People liked the spectacle of choice.
Sure, it looks impressive.
But when it came time to actually buy, only 3% of the people at the 24 jam booth made a purchase.
Wow, only 3%.
However, at the booth with only 6 jams, 30% of the people bought a jar.
That's a massive difference.
Too much choice overwhelms our cognitive processing and breaks our ability to make decisions.
It's why scrolling through thousands of movies on Netflix often takes longer than actually watching a movie.
Exactly.
But how does the JAM study apply to the AI ecosystem today?
Because right now, major tech companies are giving users 24 jars of jam, and the interface is a disaster.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Look at Google's Gemini platform. If you log in to use their advanced models, they present the user with a confusing drop-down menu.
I've seen this.
It contains 8 different, incredibly esoteric models to choose from. You have options like 2.0 Flash Thinking Experimental with apps.
Which is objectively terrible product design.
It's awful.
If I'm a marketing manager and I just want the AI to analyze a spreadsheet of customer feedback, I shouldn't have to guess if I need the Flash Thinking Experimental model or the Pro 1.5 model.
You don't care about the engine?
I don't care about the engine specifications. I just want the car to drive me to the destination.
Precisely. The actionable strategy for navigating this landscape is to aggressively seek out products that deliberately hide the underlying complexity of the models.
Look for the simple tools.
You want tools that ask you simple questions and deliver complete workflows.
The sources point to tools like Granola and Tome as the antithesis to Gemini's messy UI.
Granola is a great example.
Yeah, Granola is an AI meeting summarizer. It doesn't ask you which transformer model you want to use.
It just works.
It just runs quietly in the background, transcribes the audio, and gives you a beautifully formatted list of takeaways and action items.
And Tome is the same way for presentations.
Right, Tome is an AI presentation software. You just type in, create a 10-slide deck on Q3 revenue growth.
And it does everything.
It generates the copy, the layouts, and the images. Midjourney's the same. One prompt box, 4 images out. They give you the 6 jars of jam.
And this demand for simple, autonomous execution was predicted decades ago.
Really?
Yeah, in his 1995 book, The Road Ahead, and again in a 2017 internal memo, Bill Gates predicted a future dominated by digital personal assistants.
He saw the agent era coming.
He recognized that the ultimate goal of computing wasn't to force humans to learn complex code, but to build systems that could anticipate our needs and autonomously manage our digital lives.
Which is exactly what we're seeing.
He foresaw that the most successful professionals wouldn't be the ones who understood the math behind neural networks.
Right.
They would be the ones who mastered leveraging simple workflow-focused tools as personal agents.
The sources use a fantastic analogy of a mom-and-pop hardware store to illustrate the end-goal mechanics of the AI agent.
I love this analogy.
Let's trace the evolution of a single task, ordering inventory.
Okay.
In the analog days, the store owner walks down the aisle, looks at a physical clipboard, and sees they are running low on Phillips head screwdrivers.
Very manual.
They pick up a rotary phone, call Steve, their supplier, verbally order 100 screwdrivers, and then write a physical check and mail it.
That's entirely manual. Then came the software era.
Right. The store owner logs into an inventory management dashboard on a computer.
Yep.
They see a red notification that screwdrivers are low. They type in the order for 100, click a button to send the request digitally, and click another button to authorize a digital payment.
It's much faster, but the human is still the central processor.
Exactly. The human has to initiate and execute every single step.
But in the age of the agent, the hardware store owner literally does nothing.
Nothing at all.
The AI agent is integrated into the store's point-of-sale system. It independently notices the inventory of screwdrivers is dropping.
Okay.
It analyzes predictive seasonal modeling and realizes there is a spike in demand every spring.
So it's anticipating the need.
Without being prompted, the agent uses an API to connect to the supplier's back-end system, places the optimal order for 115 screwdrivers, and automatically processes the digital invoice payment from the store's operating account.
Wow.
The human is entirely removed from the routine execution.
It is a staggering leap in operational efficiency.
It really is.
But this forces us to confront our most critical dilemma.
Which is?
If the age of the agent means that routine execution is fully automated, what happens to the people whose entire job is routine execution?
The entry-level workers.
Specifically, what happens to those 22 to 25-year-olds entering the workforce right now?
Yeah, the ones facing that hiring freeze.
They traditionally relied on doing that exact rote work, updating the spreadsheets, compiling the initial reports to prove their worth, build their resume, and learn the industry.
The bottom rung of the corporate ladder has effectively been sawed off.
The old rules of paying your dues and grinding through data entry simply no longer apply.
They don't.
So if you are a student or a junior professional facing that 13% drop in hiring, how do you adapt?
The required strategy for this demographic is what we call extreme productivity augmentation.
Extreme productivity augmentation.
You cannot compete with an AI agent on the volume or speed of rote tasks.
An agent will always be faster.
Always faster and cheaper. Therefore, your value must come from leveraging the AI to produce a quality and quantity of strategic work that was previously impossible for a junior employee to generate.
Let's look at the hard data on this, because the Harvard Business School study featured in the sources proves that this isn't just theoretical advice.
The HBS study is a landmark piece of research on the real-world impact of generative AI.
Set the scene for us.
The researchers took a group of highly skilled management consultants from a top firm.
Okay, Boston Consulting Group, I think it was.
Right. They gave half of the consultants access to GPT-4, and the other half had to work normally without AI access.
A perfect split test.
They then assigned them a series of typical consulting tasks: brainstorming new product ideas, writing marketing copy, analyzing business data.
And the results weren't just a minor bump in efficiency.
Not at all.
The consultants using the AI saw a 12.2% increase in their overall productivity, meaning they got more tasks done.
Right.
They completed those tasks 25.1% faster.
A quarter faster.
But the most staggering metric was the quality. The output was graded blindly by human evaluators who had no idea who used AI and who didn't.
And what did they find?
The AI-augmented group saw a massive 40% increase in the quality of their work.
And we need to explain why that quality jumped so dramatically.
He did.
The researchers identified a concept known as the jagged technological frontier.
Jagged frontier.
For tasks that fall inside the AI's capabilities, like synthesizing text or brainstorming, the AI acts as an incredible equalizer.
It levels the playing field.
It took the lower-performing consultants and boosted their work to the level of the top performers. It raises the baseline of acceptable work to a nearly flawless standard.
A 30% increase in quality is the difference between an average employee who gets passed over for a promotion and a superstar who gets put on the fast track.
Absolutely.
So the advice here for young professionals is highly counterintuitive to the current corporate culture.
Do not hide your AI use.
Don't act like it's a dirty secret that you used an LLM to outline a project brief.
No, you need to actively showcase how your mastery of these tools makes you a 10x employee.
You need to walk into an interview and explicitly say, I use these specific agents to automate my baseline data collection.
Which allows me to deliver strategic insights 3 days faster than your current workflow.
Exactly. You reframe the AI from a crutch to an engine.
But this highlights a massive structural failure in how society is preparing the next generation.
Oh, the school.
We are telling young professionals they must master these tools to survive the hiring freeze, but our institutions are actively fighting against the technology.
Schools and universities are banning ChatGPT.
Yep.
Entry-level corporate training programs are restricting access to generative AI out of fear of plagiarism or data leaks.
It's completely backwards.
I have to challenge what the education system is doing here because, honestly, it borders on institutional malpractice.
It really does.
If schools and entry-level jobs are banning these tools, aren't we just setting up the entire next generation to fail?
We are.
It is exactly like teaching complex mathematics for 4 years by hand, but banning the use of a calculator right before the students go take their final accounting exam for the real world.
It makes zero logical sense.
None.
It is entirely counterproductive, and it is failing on a technical level as well.
Let's talk about the AI detectors.
Educators are heavily relying on AI detection software to try and catch students cheating.
Right.
But we need to understand how those detectors actually work. They don't magically know if an AI wrote a paper.
What are they looking for?
They look for 2 metrics: perplexity and burstiness.
Perplexity and burstiness.
Perplexity measures how predictable the word choices are, and burstiness measures the variation in sentence length.
Okay, that makes sense.
Because AI models are designed to predict the most likely next word, they tend to write with low perplexity and low burstiness.
Very uniform, predictable sentences.
Exactly.
But human beings write like that too sometimes, especially if English isn't their first language or if they're writing a formal, structured academic essay.
Precisely. Which is why the detection software is fundamentally flawed.
It constantly generates false positives.
It flags original human-written work as AI-generated all the time.
That's a nightmare for students.
The technology is moving too fast for the detectors to keep up. The education system and corporate onboarding programs must abandon the policing mindset.
And fundamentally adapt their pedagogy.
Exactly.
So what does that adaptation actually look like mechanically? If I'm a professor or a corporate trainer, how do I teach the tool without letting the tool do the thinking?
Instead of banning the AI, you make the AI the baseline requirement.
Oh, I like that.
A professor shouldn't assign an essay on the causes of the Civil War and just hope the student doesn't use ChatGPT.
That's a losing battle.
The professor should mandate that the student use ChatGPT to generate the initial essay.
Wait, really? Let the AI do the first draft?
Yes, the actual graded assignment is for the student to rigorously analyze, dissect, and critique the AI's output.
Oh, that's smart.
Where did the model hallucinate a historical fact? Where is the logical transition weak?
How could the argument be rewritten to be more persuasive or empathetic? That is a brilliant reframing. You shift the skill being taught from information generation to critical evaluation and editorial judgment.
You teach them to be the director of the machine, rather than trying to out-type it.
Because that editorial judgment is the exact skill they will actually need in the AI-driven workforce.
Exactly. But the harsh reality is, if your school or your company refuses to adapt, you cannot wait for them.
You have to do it yourself.
You must take your upskilling entirely into your own hands. The macroeconomic data on corporate investment backs this up.
What's the data say?
Currently, Only 0.1% of the global GDP is spent on worker retraining.
0.1%.
That is less than half of what was spent 30 years ago.
The cavalry's not coming to save you.
No, the private sector is not going to pause its pursuit of massive efficiency gains to make sure you are comfortable with the new interface.
So you have to aggressively pursue your own fluency in these systems on your own time. And the urgency of that independent upskilling becomes terrifyingly apparent when you look at what is happening right now on the bleeding edge of AI development.
Oh, the cognition stuff.
Yes. The sources point to a company called Cognition and their flagship product, Devin.
Devin is a game changer.
Devin is not just a coding assistant, it is an autonomous AI software engineer.
Which is wild.
You give Devin a prompt and it can access a command line, write the code, debug its own errors, and deploy the application entirely on its own.
It does the whole job.
But what is truly game-changing isn't just the technical capability, it's how Cognition is pricing the product.
This is the scary part.
They aren't selling a traditional software license where you pay a flat monthly fee per user. They are introducing a pricing paradigm based on minutes worked.
And that single pricing shift changes the entire economic equation of human labor.
Break that down for us.
Let's look at the concept of marginal cost. If you hire a human junior developer, their marginal cost is high.
You pay their salary, their benefits.
And they can only work a set number of hours before they need to sleep.
Right.
If an AI agent's output is priced by the minute, and it can execute complex coding tasks or massive data analysis in fractions of a second.
The cost of that labor drops to near zero.
Exactly. Young workers need to wake up to the reality of the market they are entering.
You are no longer competing against the junior analyst sitting in the cubicle next to you.
You are competing against the machine's minute-by-minute output rate.
It's the gig economy, but the gig worker is a server farm that never clocks out.
That's a terrifying way to put it, but it's true.
So your only defense mechanism is to elevate your value completely above the minute-by-minute task execution layer.
You have to be the person who understands what tasks the machine should be doing in the first place.
And why those tasks matter to the broader business strategy.
Exactly. As the execution of tasks becomes heavily commoditized and incredibly cheap, the human premium will be placed on judgment.
Empathy, cross-domain synthesis.
And strategic vision. The ability to direct the execution will become exponentially more valuable than the ability to perform the execution.
Okay, we have covered an immense amount of ground today, from Socrates fearing the written word to the minute-by-minute pricing of autonomous software engineers.
It's been a lot.
As promised at the top of the show, let's distill this down. Here is the bottom line. The 3 most important takeaways you need to remember from this deep dive to navigate the muddy waters of the current job market.
Let's hear them.
Number 1, the visceral anxiety you are feeling about AI is historically completely normal.
Very normal.
Humans have always feared massive technological shifts. But because AI uniquely targets the top of Maslow's pyramid, encroaching on knowledge work, creativity, and your professional identity.
Your best defense is active adaptation rather than hostile resistance.
Exactly. The technology isn't going to vanish just because there is cultural backlash.
It's here to stay.
Number 2, if you are in highly exposed fields like legal, administrative, or entry-level tech work, you must actively utilize the foot-in-the-door technique.
Start small.
Do not try to automate your entire job on day 1. Start by using specialized vertical AI tools to automate small, rote, draining tasks.
Build trust with the output.
And use the time you save to elevate your role from a task executor to a strategic partner, effectively becoming the chief of staff for your own position.
That's the pivot.
And number 3, students and young professionals facing these massive reductions in hiring must treat AI as a mandatory co-pilot.
Mandatory.
Focus on finding simple, workflow-oriented tools that hide the complexity of the underlying models. Use those tools to drastically increase your output quality and speed.
Aiming for that 40% quality bump we saw in the Harvard Business School study.
You must prove you are a 10x employee powered by AI because your execution speed is now competing against near-zero marginal cost algorithms.
Exactly right. And before we close, I want to leave you with one final provocative concept to ponder as you look at your own professional trajectory over the next 5 years.
What's that?
Think about the current structure of the gig economy and global service marketplaces. Platforms like Fiverr, Upwork, or TaskRabbit.
Sure.
Today, you log onto those platforms to hire a human being. You hire a freelance graphic designer in London or a virtual assistant in Manila or a copywriter in New York.
Right.
But what happens tomorrow? What happens when the supply side of these global service marketplaces is entirely replaced by highly specialized, autonomous AI agents?
Oh, man.
When you need a corporate logo designed or a massive expense report formatted and reconciled, will you still be hiring a human freelancer, navigating time zones, language barriers, and human error?
Probably not.
Or will the platform simply match you with an AI agent capable of executing the job perfectly, instantly, for absolute pennies?
It completely flips the script on what a service economy even means.
It really does.
If the supply side of labor becomes entirely synthetic, where does the human worker fit in?
That's the big question.
It's a massive structural question, and the timeline for that shift is coming much faster than anyone thinks.
It's already happening.
Well, you don't have to let the AI be the doctor diagnosing your obsolescence. You can learn to master the machine yourself, understand the mechanics of how it actually works, and write your own prescription for the future.
Well said.
Remember to hit subscribe and check out the Tech News TLDR YouTube channel for daily video updates that cut through the noise. Thanks for joining us on this custom deep dive. We'll catch you next time.